I have no idea where my money went in September, so let's find out what happened. Hi, I'm Jess, and on this channel I'm combining my love for ASMR and personal finance, and I hope that you can find something enjoyable in these videos. So September was expensive for me, and I'm not entirely sure why, because I was out of the country for a week on an all-inclusive holiday, so in theory I shouldn't have been spending any money for at least a week in September. So what we are going to do is we are going to look through my statement for September and figure out what went wrong. I use the Chase banking app. I primarily started using it because you got cashback on all your purchases from using your debit card as opposed to a credit card, which is what most cashback offers tend to be on. They've since reined it in a little bit, and you can only get it on certain purchases. I think it's food and something else. So I don't actually get as much cash back from it that I used to. I really like the app interface, so that's why I still use it, even though I probably could get maybe a slightly better deal elsewhere. But yeah, I choose to use the Chase app. And if you also use the Chase app, or if you use a similar one, they probably all have the same functionality. But on the Chase app, it will give you a breakdown for the month, and each purchase the app automatically categorises into something, whether that's your groceries, your fuel, expenses for your pet, that type of thing. So I have gone into the app and I have looked at the categories for September's spending and listed them all out, and we are going to go through that and see what went wrong, where all my money went. So before we look at the actual expenses, I have my iPad here with just some quick figures on it. So you might have seen in my previous video that my income is after tax, national insurance, my student loan, which in the UK comes directly from your salary. I take home £2,866.69, and then after I've paid all my regular bills, I have £1,873 to allocate to other things. And I think the first step where I'm going wrong is that goes into my bank account and I don't break it down anymore. I don't allocate a certain amount for food or for petrol or for takeaways, that kind of thing. I used to, but I found it not helpful and almost too restrictive. But when I did do it previously, I was on a much lower salary. So maybe after this exercise I'm going to have to start doing that again. I think I'm going to do this for a few months and see if I can pick out some trends, see how much I'm regularly spending on food, takeaways, petrol, on the dog and the cat, etc. And then I can start to get a realistic picture of how much it is that I'm spending. Apologies if you can hear animal noises. So from that £1,873, I move £800 to my savings, or I did in September. Some months I don't always move the same amount. I literally go off vibes, which I know is not right. But if if I found I've struggled 1 month, then the next month I will probably move like £700 instead of £800. And I tend to, it varies between sort of the two amounts really. I move £800 to savings, and that leaves me £1,073 for spending. I will caveat all that in October's pay we are actually getting our pay rise, which will be backdated to August, so my monthly take-home pay will be increasing, and also in October's pay I will be getting a bit extra as well. So next month is going to be a bit different. It's not going to be indicative of what I would normally get. So when I've looked at my spending, it's somewhat shocking. So I've made a subscription payment and credit card payment of £98. I have done a cash withdrawal for £290. 250 of that was for exchanging for holiday money. So although we were all inclusive, we like to take a bit of cash with us just in case. We probably went a bit overboard and took too much, but you know, it'll save for the next holiday, so it's fine. It's not too bad. Sorry, I just had to move for the cat and the dog, and where I was sitting wasn't comfortable, so I moved slightly. But as I was saying, £40 of that £290 cash withdrawal is for I get LVL eyelashes done about every 5 weeks, so that's for that. The next category is groceries, and I will caveat this and say I don't think it's quite correct. I like to go to standalone bakeries and stuff like that, and I think those purchases have been classed as groceries. So this isn't like all my like Tesco's food shop type thing. And that came to £243 and 11 pence. The next category is shopping, and that has come to £202 and 68 pence. Again, I'm not quite sure what has actually been included in such a broad category of shopping. I would need to go back and have a look a bit further, I think. But yeah, another £200. Home and DIY, so this had to go to Screwfix and stuff like that for a couple of bits and bobs, and that was £88 and 16 pence, because it's not cheap to own a home. The next category is pets. So unfortunately I've had to take my dog to the vets in September. Most of it I will be claiming back on his insurance, but some of it was an upfront cost that I can't claim back. And then there was his pet food as well, so he is at £83 and 60 pence this month. My going out costs, I'm assuming this includes takeaways, going out for coffee, that type of thing, and that is £122 and 65 pence. My fuel costs are £52 and 76 pence. I don't do a lot of driving anymore. I work from home mostly, and most driving that I do for work is reimbursed, so I will literally put maybe 1.5 tanks of fuel in every month, so that's why that's not too expensive. Personal care items, and that's £27 and 95 pence. I think that was from Boots or something like that. It was just and the last category that I have spent money in is investing. So every month I am putting £100 into my Trading 212 account. It's a very beginner account. It's not one of these super duper ones. It's got thousands and thousands of pounds in. In fact, my goal for the year is to just have £1,000 invested in it, and I am on track to achieve that. And I think so. I've just had a couple of dividend payments come in this month as well. And I'm planning on doing, probably my next video will be a extremely beginner's look at a portfolio, because like I said, there's less than £1,000 in there, so it would be good to put out the other side of investing. It's great to see the smaller accounts, not these ones with like hundreds of thousands of pounds in. So in total I have spent £1,308.91. So if you keep in mind that I only had £1,073 to spend, we've gone overboard a little bit. So on Chase it's actually quite good. It tells you how much you've put in, any refunds you've had, all that kind of stuff, and then it tells you as well how much you've put in savings. And for this particular month, it's actually telling me that my overall savings is down by £198. I feel like the math isn't mathing in this somewhere. But yeah, having a look at it now, it's like cash withdrawal. That is something that I don't do often. That £250 is not something that I would normally spend. The home DIY stuff, again, it's not something that I would normally spend. But unfortunately everything else looks like an expense that I would normally have. But I think if you quickly tally that up, it probably takes me under what I have to spend, but not by much. So yeah, that is where my money in September has gone. Next month, or at the end of October, I will do the same again, and I will triple check the categories, and we will do a comparison to see side by side how much I spent in September versus how much I spent in October. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's encouraged you to maybe have a look at where your money's going. If you feel the same as what I felt for September, that I just did not know where it went. I just know there wasn't enough of it. It was definitely one of those months where there was too much month left at the end of the money. But yeah, if you found this helpful, please let me know. And if you would like to see a very, very, very beginner's guide and look at a relatively new portfolio, that's probably going to be my next video. Thank you.